If you've ever tried to manifest something really important to you, money, love, health, it's failed, you've gone to somebody else or looked online and you've got the feedback which is, well, just raise your vibration, well, I'm afraid that's not guidance that you should pay any attention to. That's a red flag. Not about you, but about the guidance. It's actually the worst guidance that anyone can try and give you. Because when a real problem is met with some kind of new agey vague slogan, it tells you everything about the limits of the information and the insight and nothing about what's actually going to get that block out of the way to get the result that you want. Now, since my first out-of-body experience at the age of 3, I've spent my adult life immersed in direct spiritual experience. But more importantly, the practical side of manifestation, what actually works. When our lives are on fire, we need to make some changes. We need processes and mechanisms of consciousness that bring results. And I can tell you without hesitation, nothing has ever been or will be resolved by raising your vibration. Not money, not health, not repeating patterns. So here's what you'll get if you stay with this video for the next 5 or 7 minutes or so. In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you why that phrase fails every time any kind of emotion shows up. By the 5-minute mark, you're going to understand why emotions are not blocking your manifestations. That's not what they're there for. And why suppressing them or adding some artificial hype to them should be avoided at all cost. And by the end of the video, you'll have a really clear, usable process for working with consciousness and your emotions and your beliefs so that you never have to try and add some fake high vibe into your experience again. So of course, this video is not about feeling artificially good and pumping ourselves all the time. It's actually about the real work of working with our emotions, resolving internal contradictions, understanding our unique belief blueprints so that reality can respond differently without trying to be forced, without trying to be high vibe. So when you talk to somebody or look online and they respond to your money problems or trauma or emotional pain by saying, don't focus on what's low vibe or something along those kind of lines, what they're really saying is, I don't really know actually how this works, so I avoid saying anything that exposes my limitations. I'm afraid it's just a limitation in their awareness, of course. We're all learning how this works. But as teachers, coaches or guides, I think we should do better rather than hiding behind slogans. If an explanation doesn't solve anything and collapses the moment something doesn't work, then the model that you've got or they're giving is incomplete. And so we need to change that. I'm going to give you something that really matters. It's about understanding emotions and manifesting to create the reality that you want. It's not about avoidance or artificial manipulation of emotions. So you're meant to have all the emotions that you have. They're not errors, they're not wrong, they're not blockages. They're actually responses to your belief system. They're certainly not proof that you're failing at manifestation if you're feeling a little bit stressed. Emotions are the honest responses created by your beliefs, by your unique belief blueprint. It's an emotional pattern of beliefs that you hold within yourself, about other people, about reality, and it drives your events. So they're not something that we should bow down to either, even though they are honest and real. And they're also definitely not something that we should override with some kind of forced positivity. When honest emotions are ignored or suppressed instead of understood, then two things happen. And these two things are things that you don't want and I wouldn't want, which is they actually hide damaging belief systems and behaviors. They push them into the background, add them into the body, creating unresolved tension. And of course, then they get reflected, those inner conflicts, as events in our lives. Unwanted, of course. And of course, some people think that's some kind of karma or spiritual punishment, but it's not. It's just cause and effect operating through your unique belief blueprint. So when you tell yourself things like, I shouldn't feel fear, or I shouldn't feel anger, or I need to feel better and raise my vibration before I can manifest anything, you don't actually solve anything at all. What you actually do is add another problem. You add a second problem on top of the first problem, which is the original emotion wasn't actually the issue. It's the resistance to feeling it is one issue, and suppressing it is the next one. Because suppressing emotions doesn't remove them, simply pushes them down. It hands control to the unconscious. And that's why people keep repeating the same outcomes while insisting they're doing the work. But what they're really doing is just bypassing an avoidance, not consciously, but definitely unconsciously. So here's a process that is just effective and it just works. So let's say that you will have a fear about money. You think about it, about paying your bills, you can't sleep, you're worried. What I suggest you do is actually feel all the emotions. Don't act them out though, don't dramatize it, just allow them. Remember that you are not your beliefs. You're not your emotions. These are tools that you use to create the reality that you want. So name the emotion, call it fear. It's okay to be scared. It's understandable. If we're taught to be fearful, it's understandable to be fearful. Remember, it's a fear about a belief. So ask yourself, why do you feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Take your time, and what that will do, the feeling will lead you to the belief. So fear always points to a belief about threat or loss. Anger points to a belief about violation or injustice. So what you're actually doing here is you're identifying, you're locating the unique line of belief code, if you like, in your belief system that produced the feeling. So question the belief next. Not kind of, don't be spiritual about it. Just, use your intellect. You've got an intellect for a reason, and this is one way to use it. Ask yourself, is this belief actually true? So the caveat that makes it more difficult is this. If you don't believe you can change a belief because you've had it for a long time or whatever it is, that's a belief about a belief, and you can change that. You can change any belief that you want. If you then try to change the belief and feel uncomfortable, it's because you've got other beliefs connected to it that feel at risk in some way, shape or form. So you need to explore that. But when the belief changes, the emotional responses change automatically. Your identity, your energetic signature, if you like, shift at source. And then from that point, there's no need to manufacture any high vibrations ever again. The system just resolves itself. And that's really key. It's not about pretending to be spiritual or some theatre or anything like that. It's about resolving the system and making it work for you. And once you do this enough, you will understand that the idea of raising your vibration is a little bit absurd because it skips the real issues, the mechanisms that consciousness uses to create. It avoids the emotion, it avoids the beliefs, it causes and tries to jump straight to an outcome. And of course, it always fails. So for me, that's not wisdom, that's just avoidance. It's like telling somebody with a warning light on their dashboard to just drive faster and it'll resolve itself, or somebody with a leaking roof saying, just think drier thoughts and then change the belief. It's a choice. People struggle to say, well, how do I change them? Well, you just choose. If you don't fix the system, you just delay the breakdown. Key awareness I want to pass on is that you don't have to feel good all the time to manifest. That's just ridiculous. You manifest by removing internal contradictions in your belief blueprint and identity and adding new emotions that you want. You allow emotions. You explore and examine beliefs and understand the inner signals. And when they all become coherent, reality naturally responds. There's no forcing, there's no pretending, there's no performance. It's just how it is. So the next time you hear yourself think, oh, do I need to raise my vibration? I would suggest that you ask, what am I feeling right now? What belief in my unique blueprint created it, and do I need to change it? That question will do more for your manifestations than 10 years of slogans ever will. And if you do want a clear, structured understanding of how consciousness creates reality, how you can stop repeating the same patterns of money and health relationships, then I've got a free training called the Belief Blueprint, and I will add it into the description. So tell me in the comments, which emotions do you judge yourself the most, or which emotions do you struggle to manage, if you like? Because if you can know that, then that's where your leverage is to make the changes that you want. And if this was useful for you, do subscribe if you want more clarity instead of comfort, if you like, if you want results over New Age slogans. That's it. Take care.